Hey and welcome to this video, and in this video I'm going to address the question: how does the richest man alive solve pretty much every single problem quite easily? Probably wouldn't need to give this man an introduction unless you have been living under a rock, of course, but this man is currently, as of February 2024, richest man alive with, I think, a net worth of around $262 billion. So even if you had like 1% of his income, you'd be extremely rich. So how did he get so rich, you might ask? Well, one underlying theme, which I found to be the case among the companies he had built, is a strategy that Elon Musk used to basically solve problems for his companies that allowed him to make a boatload of money. So I will cover this method with you on screen share. So let's just hop over to the computer and I will show you how it works. So this is basically how Elon Musk built his successful company, The Secret.
Side of tobacco.
Oh, okay. So it's like pot tobacco posh.
You never had that?
Yeah, I think I tried one once.
Come on. How does that work? Do people get upset at you if you do certain things? Tobacco and marijuana in there. That's all it is.
No, that's obviously not the method, not smoking weed. You might be disappointed by that, I'm sorry. But basically, before I tell you about the method, really important to understand that Elon Musk, when he moved out of South Africa to the US, to Pennsylvania University, he was going to study physics and economics. Now, these two disciplines, if you'd like, are really important because this is where most of Elon Musk's problem-solving abilities came from. And one specific example where he actually developed this method is in his company SpaceX. So essentially the story is that Elon Musk, when he was trying to build SpaceX, came into a very big, gnarly problem. Because he wanted to move human life to multiple planets, as I'm sure you're aware, also to Mars, to other planets. However, the issue that he came across is that space rockets, were extremely expensive to build, extremely costly. I think about 65 million off the top of my head. So what Elon Musk actually did, and this is where his method or strategy originated from, he actually looked at this rocket of about $65 million and he thought, well, how can I dissect this rocket into its most fundamental core parts? He basically had all of these elements from physics of which a rocket consisted out of. And what he did is he basically took those elements and saw that the cost to acquire those elements specifically was not expensive at all. I mean, still expensive, was still like 2% of 65 million. But he found that the problem wasn't in gathering the materials. The problem was in structuring the materials in an efficient way, because that costed about 98% of the total expenses of the rocket. He was successful with this. He managed to decrease the cost to create a rocket by 10x. And the method he basically used was deconstruct, then reconstruct. This is also known as something called first principles thinking. And I'm going to explain a couple of examples with this so you also can use this in your own life, in your business, in your relationships, in your health. But before I do go into that, there's one additional thing which I would like to address, and that's something called a form and a function. So whenever you're solving problems, it's important to keep in mind that you want to optimize for the function and you don't want to optimize for the form. Form is essentially the means of reaching a goal, and the function in this case will be the goal or the potential outcome. So now I'm going to give you a couple of examples of how this process of solving problems works, how Elon Musk also uses it to solve his problems. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to give you a step-by-step guide on how you can use this method as well to solve problems in your own life. Alright, so yeah, now I'm going to walk you through a couple of examples of how you can apply this method of thinking to your own life and your business or any other parts of your life. So essentially the first example I want to start with is, let's say that you are broke. So that's obviously not a very nice situation to be in. If this is you, I sincerely apologize. But anyway, there's basically two methods in which you can, according to like reason, solve problems. We have reasoning by analogy. I'm going to explain what this is in a second. And we have reasoning by Elon Musk. It's actually not called reasoning by Elon Musk, obviously. It's called reasoning by first principles. So reasoning by analogy is basically, I am doing this because this person said so, or I'm doing this because this is how we always used to do it. Basically giving a reason which is not valid. Reason by analogy. So an example of this, if you're broke, could be the way in which they used to make money is basically by working very hard in a 9-to-5, working a job, going to university, and then afterwards getting a job, of course. That's like the trajectory. And that's what they did in order to make money. That's how they always did it. So this is what I am going to do too. If you follow that path, you're probably not going to be broke, but you're probably not going to be very happy either. So the reasoning by first principles, or by Mr. Musk, would be to look at the objects which are involved, which is first of all you, obviously, because you are broke. Second of all, there's money, because it's to do with broke and making money. And thirdly, there's the world. This basically takes place in the economic system. So whenever you're solving problems, you have to keep in mind the objects and define the system it's taking place in. Then you're going to look at these individual components and see what they each are. So you have you're basically a person. You should, if you're watching this video. Second, we have money, and this is basically a means of exchange, as I'm sure you're aware, because you exchange something for money and then you get something back. And we have the world, which is comprised of a bunch of things, but for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to label it as people, because obviously it's taking part in the economic system. So if you are broke and you want to solve this, the best thing to do is to just take a look at what does money mean. It's basically a means of exchange. So what that means is basically something must be given in order to get something else. So let's say that A is money, B would be food, B would be a movie, B would be a product, a service, whatever. When you look at money, it's basically a means of exchange of value. So money flows in one direction and value flows in the other direction. And this could be value, as I just explained, of many different things. So the first principle reasoning method of approaching this would be to see, hey, okay, I know that money is basically a means of exchange. Money goes one way, value goes the other way. This means that if I want to solve my situation of being broke and being miserable, what I have to do is just find a way to provide a lot of value to people. Because if I do that, I'm going to get money from these people and I'm no longer going to be broke. So that's obviously a good situation. So this is the first example I'm going to give you. If it doesn't make sense right now, don't worry, because I have a few examples coming up. So before I continue, I do want to add one final point about the form and the function. So as I just explained, the form is basically the means of achieving something. And the function is basically the goal. Like, what do we want to achieve? What's the purpose of this? In this case, with the example of being broke, the form would be a job. Because people generally focus too much of their attention on what is the best job to make money, what is the best business model to make money. However, the function of this is obviously to, as I just said, make money. So if you really specifically focus only on the form and try to improve that, you're never going to see this option of providing value to people, which is in most cases not really achievable with a job. So in that case, you would look at the function. Okay, the function here is making money. So how do I make the money? And then you're going to look and use this method to basically reason. Right. So the second example I'm going to give you is with fitness. So let's say that you work super hard in the gym. So I work super hard in the gym, but I don't grow any muscle. Okay, that's the problem which you have. So reasoning by analogy in this case would be, well, it's not working because the workout program I'm following is not working, because it doesn't work for my friend either. So you have your friend, maybe he's not as strong and he's following the same workout schedule as you. So let's just call that workout schedule A. And because your friend follows it and he's not succeeding, that's the reason why the workout is the problem. And that's the reason why you're not growing any muscle. From the other side, reasoning by Elon Musk, or the first principles side, would be that if you basically took a look at all of the objects which are involved, so you have you obviously, because you are doing the workout, we have the workout schedule itself, workout schedule, we have the gym and the weights, and basically your body, which is like part of you, obviously, but I'm going to define it separately. Let's take a look at what system this takes place in. So you can observe this takes place in the muscular system, because that's where you're growing your muscles, obviously. So a first principles perspective on this problem would be to see, hey, okay, we have you, the workout schedule, the gym, and your body. And this takes place inside of the muscular system. At the very core, how do muscles grow? Because that's the problem you have and you're not growing any muscle. If you take a look at the reason that muscles grow, it's because, first of all, the muscle tissues are broken down. And second of all, they are able to grow back stronger and bigger after they're basically broken down. And they're able to grow stronger and bigger if they have the resources to do so. So what I mean with this is, like, obviously muscles need fuel to basically grow. And in this case, the fuel would be protein to specifically grow muscles. There's obviously carbs involved and stuff like that. But to keep it simple, muscle tissues have to be broken down and they should be able to grow back stronger, bigger if they have enough resources to do so in the form of protein. These are like the first principle rules of muscle growth, which is what this problem takes part in. It takes part inside of your muscular system of the body. So let's say that you work super hard. So this is not a problem, because if you work super hard in the gym, muscle tissues are definitely going to be broken down. You should be careful to not overtrain. But secondly, the problem in this case is probably to do with muscles not growing back stronger and bigger. It could be a various number of problems, but the ones I see pop out is to do either with you don't have enough protein, so you don't eat enough, you don't give yourself enough recovery. So if you like train every day super hard, you eat super much. If you do it too much, so let's say that you work out like 4 hours a day, every day, but you eat much, but you work out every day for 4 hours, and you don't give yourself enough rest, you don't have enough sleep, this is also probably the reason that the muscles are not able to grow back bigger and stronger. So it's probably going to be one of two things. And this is a much easier way to actually find out what the problem is and how you can solve it. So essentially how you can use this, because I promised I was going to give you a step-by-step framework, is first obviously defining the problem. So there is something to be solved, obviously, otherwise it's not much use using this technique. Secondly, you want to define the objects. And one thing I want to add on to this is that you do want to make sure that you define the objects at the most absolute fundamental core, so the absolute core. So what I mean with this is, if you're going to have like people involved, people are a body and a mind. People are emotions. People have like physical attributes. They have psychological attributes. That is the level you want to go to when you're defining objects. And thirdly, you want to define the system it's operating in, or the environment, which is usually like the social system. It could be the body, so inside of the muscular system and nervous system. Define the system that the problem is taking part in. Fourth, you want to take a look at what is absolutely true. So what is absolutely true? So after you've defined what is absolutely true based upon the object and the environment, you have to take a look at the form and the function, because that is essentially what this entire approach is about. Define the form, and if you remember, the form is the means of achieving the goal, and also define the function. So the function would be the actual goal. But yeah, that's basically how Elon Musk solves every single problem. He looks at the problem, he defines the absolute core fundamental truths, he looks at the system, and he defines the form and the function, and then he reasons up from the beginning until he solves the problem. So that is essentially the technique, and this is how Elon Musk is able to solve pretty much every single problem that he comes across.